Today we're doing, I am painting the second in a series of 5 called Magic in the Mundane, and I'm going to focus on everyday settings and finding little bits of magic in them. And without further ado, I'm going to get painting. First, I start off by sketching in a dynamic symmetry grid. If you haven't used one of those before, it's pretty fun to look into. I really like math, so I kind of geek out about it, but I can also make a video on this if you're curious, so just let me know. After that, I get a rough sketch in, and here, because there's the building in the foreground, I like to add in some perspective lines just as a guide. And as I mentioned in a previous video, in this part of the process, you are comparing one line to another, you're comparing the position, the angles, and iteration after iteration you get closer to the correct proportions and placement. I'll be honest, this is totally not exact. I'm just kind of estimating. I start with the horizon line, which is eye level, and then I go in and add in a steeper and steeper angle each way just to give the illusion that they're all going to the same vanishing point. And before I get too ahead of myself, here is the reference photo for your reference. I really hesitate to even add it in because there's so much I omit, but I thought it could be helpful to see. After that, I start to block in color. Typically, I work dark to light, but it sort of varies along the way. But here you can see, because it's a nocturne, most of the values are in fact dark. I also find it easier to mask in the sky pretty early on so that I can use it to key other values. Now for my favorite part, I begin to fill in the color of the building in the foreground. And using those perspective lines, I begin to sketch in the lines and angles of the building. And because it's important to work the whole canvas at once, I go back up to the mountain area and begin to add some more detail up there too. Just to keep the whole, at least for now, to keep the whole scene worked pretty evenly. And it is so incredibly rewarding when you finally get to start putting down those light values. It just really makes the painting start to come together, and I get really excited at this point. Now that I've got a good idea of the overall value and color structure of the painting, I go in and fill the tooth of the sky, because I'm sure at this point that I know what color I want it to be. And now, because I love overlapping objects in a composition, I'm creating a car in the very, very near foreground, just to add to the illusion of depth. Now I'm darkening the value of the mountains in the background just so that the foreground really pops with those light values in the store windows and on the car and the street lamp. I really want those to be the focal point. And like I was talking a little bit about in the previous video, now I'm only adding details that the theme. I really, kind of like in the last video too, I really want to focus on the light. When I took this photo, I just saw this scene. It was after closing hours. It was just an empty store that was lit up. And although it's not something that's traditionally beautiful, I would say, it really just sung with the dark abyss of the mountains as the backdrop. And for this, yes, there were mannequins and such in the store windows, but I didn't want to focus on the detail. What I was really drawn to was the light, and so I just wanted to create a series of light abstract marks. And now I'm going back over with a darker value to reestablish the window mullions. And now I'm adding highlights on the window mullions because as the light exits the store, it bounces off of them. And at this point of the painting, I'm constantly stepping back to see what the painting needs and to touch up any areas that stand out to my eye that I don't want to draw attention to, and further define the areas that I do want to draw attention to. And I really enjoyed this part. I'm popping on little sconces on the columns, and I feel like this just helps the building almost glitter in the foreground. And lastly, you can see me use my finger to knock down any edges that my eye is just too drawn to. Here is the finished painting. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I wanted to chop it in half and just keep the building as the bottom, but because there's so much dark value and the background takes up such a big part of the canvas, the building really pops, and I think it works, and I'm probably not gonna chop it in half. Thank you for watching. Such a squeaky chair.